Hey y'all, I'm just here hanging out at the beach. Just kidding, this is a stained glass window. Woo, it's looking quite peaceful over there in that lighthouse. I could definitely go for a little bit of downtime, but we can't because it's a stained glass window. And in this video, we are going to check out the full process on how we built this stained glass window. The start of all stained glass window projects is to get the glass cutting, and that means getting our trusty light table all cleaned up and free of debris. If you're still cutting all your glass using pattern shears, you really should consider getting one of these. It saves tons of time when you don't have to make a duplicate of each pattern. We met with the client and he had many ideas, but he ended up picking many beautiful colors. It's always a treat when we get to do a little residential project like this. This project incorporated glass from several manufacturers, including the Wissmach Glass Company out of West Virginia, Kokomo opalescent glass out of Indiana, and Oceanside glass out of California. Later in the video, you're going to see how we got so much fine detail into the glass for the actual lighthouse and the shrubbery portions of the window. It's quite tedious and really takes a lot of time to get the glass looking just right, but it's all worth it in the end to have a one-of-a-kind piece like this. The top portion of the lighthouse is clear. That's why it looks like he's simply running the glass cutter over the pattern. It'll make more sense when you see the finished product again later on. As is the nature with stained glass windows, there are tons of pieces in each panel. You'll go absolutely insane recutting glass if you don't have some sort of system to keep track of which pieces you've cut. So it's important to do something to make sure you know. We simply mark each piece on the pattern, indicating it's been cut, normally with just a check mark or an X. Each piece of glass is cut by hand, so while these stained glass windows may seem quite costly even for a small piece, you have to remember all the effort that goes into every square inch of the stained glass window. Many of the pieces are handled multiple times, from the glass pulling, cutting, painting, leading, puttying, and eventually installation. It may not seem like it, but wow, is it a lot of work. The glass cutting is a skill that takes years to perfect, so that the craftsman can cut precisely and in a timely manner, even when there are angles and curves. It can be a bit tricky, but most of our craftsmen have been cutting and handling glass for 15 plus years, so if it looks easy on camera, that's why. This year is the Cavallini Co. Inc.'s 70th anniversary. Hard to think that this company has been around for more than 2 times my lifetime. This little lighthouse is based on an actual lighthouse located in Port Aransas, Texas. I think it looks pretty similar to the real thing. If you agree, leave us a like down below. This green Kokomo glass has a rich organic feel to it. It's perfect for any sort of greenery or lush grassy landscape. This glass on its own is already a work of art, and each sheet is wildly different. So it's important to take some time and consideration to get the perfect piece. One of the main advantages of our studio is that we stock over 800 glass types at all times. So our palette is pretty wide and available to complete projects on time and on budget. These cuts are pretty wacky angles, and it certainly takes a ton of practice to have the stability in your wrists to be able to cut all these angles. So that's certainly a sign of an experienced glass cutter. Stained glass is tricky in that no two sheets are alike. Often, in order to get the perfect effect one is looking for, you'll need to do what we call selective cutting. This reddish-brown Oceanside glass is a perfect example, where instead of starting the cut on the far edge where the glass was much darker, he brought the cut portion of the glass in towards the center just a bit to get the lighter area. Another very important consideration on that piece was the direction of the color. The lighthouse is more of a vertical structure, so it makes sense to have the direction going vertically instead of horizontally. Sometimes it's the little details that can really make or break a stained glass window project. This is another green with a nice texture, which is another subtle effect that really adds a bit of depth to the project. This particular glass is especially useful for leaves in bushes and shrubs. While it is a beautiful glass straight out of the sheet, we will be doing a bit of additional detail adding to really make this glass stand out. More on that a little later on in the video. Now, this Streaky Blue Oceanside glass is a favorite among both our supplies customers as well as our studio customers. This glass is just fantastic for skies with tons of visual interest resembling clouds. It is a bit of a dense glass, but that's no problem. All we have to do is darken the lines on the pattern and we're going to be able to see right through the glass for more perfect cuts. You'll certainly be able to learn tons by watching these videos, and if you're interested, I've made a stained glass cutting guide where I explain all the tools and their uses with demonstrations, along with a more guided video of cutting a stained glass window, where the voiceover is more focused on explaining how and why I'm doing each action. If that may be of interest to you, I've linked the video down below the like button in the description. Now, this streaky blue glass also has a pretty definitive direction. So for something like this where it's for a sky, we're going to want that color to run the width of the panel, so the direction of the glass is mostly horizontal. This lighter streaky blue glass is another favorite, and here we're using it on the borders. With the contrasting direction of this glass versus the other, it will pop nicely and give the panel a bit more depth. If this was a larger project, we probably would have broken out the strip cutter. But for something as small as this, the hand cutting was actually still a bit faster. Now that all of our glass is cut, we're going to check out the final layer of paint going onto the pieces. Our studio does 100% of the painting in our facility, and this is the step where you'll start to see the glass becoming almost lifelike in some cases. This green glass, in conjunction with the painting, texture, and color, really adds a nice depth to the glass in the final product. Now, this paint is not simply applied. It's actually fired into the glass in a kiln for a durable finish. I have seen some hobbyists using some sort of applied enamel paint with a top coat meant for nail polish, and while in some applications that may be okay, for our projects we want the most durable finish possible. This finish does require a ton more time, often with the pieces requiring several separate firings, but that's another factor that plays into this piece being worth the value it's priced at. Our expectation for our work is for it to outlive ourselves, and so we take every precaution possible to do so. Here you can see the individual details on each of the green pieces, bringing it to life from a green glass to a lively shrub. This really displays all the time and effort that goes into each little piece. And to think, this is done multiple times in multiple layers until each piece is perfect. As he's finishing up the landscape, he'll get started on the buildings. With perfect precision, he makes these pieces fit together for a seamless appearance from the light table to the finished product. If this painted glass interests you, keep an eye out for some of our other videos where we will be featuring more projects incorporating this hand-painted stained glass art. And now for the star of the show, this reddish-brown lighthouse. There are many small details that can be easily overlooked, but these are the parts that really make a project stand out. Here the artist is making it look easy, but keep in mind, he is a master craftsman with tens of thousands of hours perfecting this craft. That's an incredible amount of skill, and it certainly shows. Coming up to the final stages of this build, leaded panel assembly. Here you can see all the glass on the pattern, and at this point, I'm really excited to see all the hard work thus far. Each piece of lead is carefully cut and bent around the curves of each individual piece. We build the panel within these forms so that there's a secure place for us to push the glass up against. When assembling the window, it also helps to keep the window square. It's important to keep piling on all those details and adding them up to make sure that this is a top tier project. Now in the perimeter of this project, we are using zinc. Zinc is a rigid metal compared to lead, so we like it for the perimeter on small panels like this one. We miter the edges with a miter saw, and you'll see in a few moments how we like to solder that joint for it to be a neat, clean joint. In the area of the panel, we use a 1/4 inch round profile lead because lead is malleable, which is necessary for the pieces with curved edges. These art pieces are really not meant to be handled very often, as they are a bit fragile, so lead toxicity really shouldn't be a problem. But if you are concerned about lead in the panels, they could be copper foiled using a lead-free solder instead for a small panel like this. Now, everyone assembles stained glass windows a little differently. In this case, she started from the bottom, did both sides first of the perimeter, and filled in the area from left to right. Someone else may have started from one corner and built out, but as the old saying goes, there are many ways to peel an orange. It goes something like that, right? If you are enjoying this video and if you want to see more like it, subscribe, because boy oh boy do we have a ton of awesome projects going on as we speak, and we'll be making videos on all of them. So if you want to check some of those out, click down below. Now, she's soldering up all the joints, and we use a 50-50 solder with the Weller soldering iron and paste flux. This process is pretty simple. Clean up the lead with a wire brush, apply flux, heat up the solder with the iron, and it will drip into each joint and cool off into a nice neat little joint. After the forms are removed, she'll do the edges where she has them taped off so that there's a nice clean line. Now the lead assembly is done. All that's left is to apply stained glass putty. Once the putty is applied and cleaned off, he'll neatly tape off the edges and apply a patina to the zinc portion to match the rest of the lead. After a buffing and cleaning, this panel is all done. I hope you like it. Comment down below what you think we should make next. Thanks for watching.